But then there was also a total different element to the work I did with Moritz, which was the 3&B projects, where we collaborated with the guys from Detroit. And it was just the fact that they came to Berlin on a quite regular basis to play at Tresor. And at that time there were no other clubs so much in Europe who were interested in booking them. And so they had, besides their weekend spinning times, they had lots of downtime. Downtime in the sense that they were hanging out, you know, thinking, okay, what shall we do now? And we were, Moritz and I, we were both big jazz fans. We were thinking of the situation with the jazz musicians in the 50s and 60s when they came to Europe. A certain, say, Ornette Coleman, and he would be in Copenhagen and find a bass player from Copenhagen and a drummer from Copenhagen and start to play with them, just to kind of, you know, do what they do, music. So I figured maybe we should do that with them in the same style. Not so much thinking about a long-term project and about a forever collaboration kind of thing, but just say, let's go in the studio for 2 days and see what happens. And for us it was a studio as the playground. For the jazz musicians it was the jazz club. But since at that time we were pretty much running our own home studios on a kind of a quality, medium quality level, we were quite confident with it and quite happy with it, and just suggested it, you know. If 2 days go wrong, then it's not so bad. But we wanted to bring this spirit into the music again, that you just meet, you have an exchange of ideas, and then you might not see him again, but in the best possible cases you might do something again after that, you know. So that was a little pickup from that, making something out of a problem, make something good out of it, you know. So that basically how that kind of long-term relationship with Tresor came about, when we started to invite their DJ acts into our studio to work with. Yeah. So we worked then with Blake and with Eddie Fowlkes and with Juan Atkins and with Underground Resistance. Those guys were heroes to us. And you know, Juan being quite influential obviously for us as well, because when those first imports from Chicago and Detroit started to flood into Europe, for us that was kind of a revelation, in the sense that, oh, there is fresh music going on, and we were quite impressed with their style. Not so much that we thought this is absolutely brilliant. We were thinking, this is weird. I mean, we didn't quite understand all of it, but we felt that there's a certain honesty in it, and a certain truth and heart as well, a certain soul in it, that we were very attracted to. For this phase of Moritz and I working with those friends from Detroit was very much also a phase where we relaxed from this kind of superstar feel, you know, where we suddenly, you know, they came to us thinking, wow, the Germans, you know, the Kraftwerk, blah, you know, and they thought, they were kind of interested how we do things, and we were interested how they do things. But we found out, both of us found out, we all cook with water, you know. So it's also, when it comes to the studio, you just do what you do, you know, and there's no artificial aura around you. It's just your aura and what you carry with yourself. So for us, it was a very refreshing time to actually be able to be one-to-one and get rid of this kind of still, for us it was set very deep, you know, this the Americans do it better kind of thing, you know. Even though it sounds stupid these days, I have to admit this was part of our thinking in a way. Not so much that we thought it should be like that and it will be ever like that, but that was the way we've been sort of grown up. That's the thought we grew up with. And for us, this was a time of where we could relax with this, where it became even. And we got lots of self-confidence out of that. At the same time, you know, you don't get it given, you have to still do it. So in the end, it's always what you do and the way you develop your ideas and your concepts. You know, when you do it in an intense, true way to your art and to your ideas, then you have a chance to succeed. And that's basically a lesson we learned from them as well. What I like about the Kompakt family in that sense is that it is a family. It is also viewed and understood as a family, even though it's very diverse. And it allows diversity and allows this diversity to, you know, go in whatever direction it might go, which I find, you know, in a way, very classic label idea. Whereas some of the newer labels, which I respect, buy records often find brilliant, they're maybe slightly more narrow in the direction they're taking. And Kompakt was for me very much in the beginning the label of Wolfgang Vogt. And Wolfgang Vogt not only being the label chief, but also being a fascinating kind of conceptor in his musics, I say, you know, because he had such different ways of, or alleys he was working in or walking on, and that really impressed me. And I figured, even though I wouldn't want to adapt myself to one of his directions, I felt this allows more directions, more paths, more elements, more shadows, more ingredients, and that's where I felt attracted to him, you know. And I must say, I still feel very good at home there, out of those reasons, because it allows this diversity, and now and then brings in great new musicians, of which I'm really impressed with and become an immediate fan of. But therefore I'm quite happy that there is a base, and it's not so much like an artistic base, it's also for me the base where I know I'm happy to give my music to, and it's going to be distributed in a range of around the world of people who possibly adapt to what I'm doing, you know. So there's the respect for the artistic aspect of Kompakt, but there's also satisfaction about their business side of things, you know. So I'm quite happy that this works quite well for me on both of those levels. There's still some unfinished business in me making music, and I think this is the driving force of me still doing it. You know, I still have this aim of making a great club track, which I never succeeded in, and I still, you know, I have these kind of fights within me when I'm asked to make an ambient track for pop ambient, and then I think, I'd like to put some drums to that, you know. It's always kind of fighting in myself, you know, those different directions. And I have to say, you know, on those 3 albums on Kompakt, there's not one bit I say, I don't want to do this anymore. It's always kind of evolving in a big molding machine, you know. One time this is on top, one time this is on top, and this sort of carries around that, you know. Obviously, when I play in clubs, I don't play so much ambient stuff, but I did start playing pure ambient sets as well, which I quite enjoy. I have a little bit of problem sometimes with the lack of physical action within the ambient sets, because I do like to get into the move. But I like the tunes and I can focus, and I've done it a few times now, and I enjoy that. And so yeah, I mean, maybe one little odd one out is the Low Flow album on Plug Research, which I sometimes listen to these days and say, that's interesting, and I can't quite remember how I did it or something. You know, maybe there's something else coming out again which goes into something completely off, into a certain way which I haven't done before. But I basically consider those 3 Kompakt albums as my musical core, my main bit of which I work off, and I enjoy the groovier sides as much as the dubbier sides, as much as the ambient sides of it, you know. And I'm quite happy I don't have to make a choice. Really have a really concept I follow in my productions. I really go from very sensual aspects. You know, I like it to be sexy, and I like it to get myself moving in the studio as well, enjoying it, just, you know, and that often has to do with the groove and a certain funkiness of it. And this is what I search. I enjoy it also, this kind of traveling aspect, seeing different parts of the world, being able to play to audiences, whereas I always think, well, really they like it, great, you know. And it's kind of a connection with me to the world, and it's also the actual music making aspect at home is also a kind of a part which is important for my mental sanity, you know. So I have some kind of way to express myself, you know. So I don't get too wound up with certain things, but there's a release point, you know. So it's kind of good for my balance, for my mental balance, to be able to make music. It's part of my, yeah, you know, part of my being.